Welcome to Rediscover Dairy. I am Khanyi Mjwara, and today we are going to be talking about the nutritional benefits of milk and dairy and why it is so important to make sure that you add dairy not only into your trolley but also into your diet. There is compelling evidence that shows that the consumption of dairy improves nutrition and it improves health. So today we are joined by Leighton, the project manager of RediscoverDAIRY. Kristen, it's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you, Khanyi. I look forward to our discussion today. So let's start by, how would you include dairy into your daily diet or into daily meals?
Because dairy is such a reliable source of good nutrition, it is very easy to make sure that you are able to put it into anything that you eat. Now, let us look at a dairy product such as milk. With milk, you can find fresh pasteurized milk, which you find in the fridges. You can also have UHT milk, what we call long life milk, and you can also find dairy in a format of real milk powder, which you also find in the shelves. Now, these different formats of dairy make it easy for you to decide which works for you. Let's look at, for example, long life milk. It will be much more helpful if you have a challenge with your refrigeration, and real milk powder can be much more helpful, for example, for people who live in the outskirts, because there's people who live like 3 hours away from town. So something like real milk powder would be much more beneficial. Now, another way that you need to think about is to actually use dairy as a beverage. You can take your cup of cold milk or warm milk and enjoy it as a beverage, or also you are able to add your milk to other beverages such as tea or coffee. And there's people who also enjoy smoothies. It's very easy to also add into your smoothie. Another very important thing is to talk about dairy as something that you can have at different eating occasions. You say, wow, I need to make sure that I add this dairy to my breakfast. You are able to take maybe a cup of milk and enjoy it with your cereal, or maybe you can have your porridge and add milk into it. Let's say you want to think of dairy as something you can have around lunchtime. You can take your mass and add it to your pap. Let's say that you want to use dairy as a supper. You are able to maybe just grate a bit of cheese and put it on your vegetables. So there's many ways that one can use dairy. And also importantly, you are not just only limited to your breakfast, lunch and supper. You are able to also use dairy as an on-the-go product, what we normally call a snack. You can take your yogurt and have it as a snack, or you can snack with your cheese. It makes a good snack.
You've said so many interesting things now, Khanyi, so I'd really like to break it up into smaller pieces. So if you look at, for example, you mentioned UHT milk and it's convenient. But now I would wonder, is UHT milk as good as pasteurized milk in nutritional value? Can you explain a bit more on that?
All milk is nutritious, whether it is UHT milk, whether it is fresh pasteurized milk, or it's real milk powder. It is equally nutritious. You find the same nutrients in all these different formats of dairy.
So you would say that adding dairy to my meal would improve my nutritional value of the meal in general? Would you say, because you mentioned so many lovely options to add dairy to your meals?
Absolutely. As we had mentioned before, dairy is highly nutritious. We actually use a term where we say it's nutritionally dense. It is packed with nutrients. Dairy has got calcium, which helps us with strengthening our bones, and it also helps us with strengthening our teeth. You look at another important nutrient that is in dairy, you find that it's got protein. The protein in dairy is very, very good because it gives us amino acids, which now go to different cells to be building different cells in our body. Let's look at now, for example, talking about potassium. Potassium is very, very good. Also, it's very good for the heart. And then potassium is good because it regulates our blood pressure. Let's look at the immune boosting nutrients in dairy. We've got zinc, which is very, very good for our skin, but it also is very good for boosting our immune system. Another one that's very good for the immune system is vitamin A. Not only does it help us with our immunity, but it also helps us to see better. It's very, very good for our eyes. We've got vitamin B12, which is very, very good for the brain. So it helps us to remember and it boosts our mental capacity. So there's just so many nutrients that you can find in dairy that just make this product so amazingly beautiful and very, very healthy for us.
I must say I like the one on the B12 because I think I need to have a lot of B12 in my diet.
We all do.
Khanyi, now I've also read or heard that, in the past we used to eat nutrients. Now we don't go out and eat a cup or a spoonful of calcium or a spoonful of protein. So can you tell me how these nutrients, I've read that they work together and they're giving us great benefits. Can you just expand on that a little bit more?
Yes, I love exactly what you're asking because there is a wonderful food benefits that we find in the dairy food group. The nutrients in the dairy food group work together like a team. We call this the dairy matrix, meaning that these different nutrients actually make each other more effective. I did mention that we've got calcium in dairy, but the fact that there's also potassium in dairy, it makes dairy much more efficient in how the nutrients are absorbed in the body. So the dairy matrix make the dairy food group very, very unique. It cannot be mimicked because it's in exactly how these amazing nutrients work together as a group to give you a wonderful health benefits.
And these nutrients are all naturally present in dairy. They don't fortify or add nutrients to make it a better product.
That's the lovely thing. All these nutrients are naturally present in dairy. Whether you're deciding to have low-fat dairy or you're deciding to have medium fats or normal fat dairy, all these nutrients are naturally present in dairy. We do not add them.
And we know that the full cream milk just tastes better.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
So, Khanyi, what would you recommend? How many portions a day would you recommend, and why would you recommend the number of portions per day?
The thing about calcium is that each person requires 1,000 milligrams of calcium a day. So we make this easy by breaking down this 1,000 milligrams into 3 sized portions of 300 milligrams. If, for example, you take a cup of milk, or you take a cup of amasi, or you take a cup of yogurt, that will give you 300 milligrams of calcium. 2 full spoons of grated cheese on your vegetables, that makes 300 milligrams of calcium.
Now, Khanyi, if I can't afford 3 portions of dairy a day, is it okay if I only have 1 portion of dairy a day?
It's recommended that you have 3 portions of dairy a day. But if, for example, somebody cannot afford to have 3 portions, even 1 is absolutely important. In that way, you are still able to get the calcium that your body needs. Because let's remember this, your bones in your body, they require calcium at any stage of adulthood or childhood. If you are much younger, you need this calcium to develop your bones. And as you get older, you need to maintain the strength of your bones. If you are not able to have 3 servings of calcium, we definitely do recommend that try at least to get 1. Because
at least 1 to add some of those nutrients to your diet.
Absolutely, because that will go a long way for your health benefits.
When I go to sporting events, I often see they're giving flavoured milk out, or sometimes they give a mazi. Is there a benefit to sports people by having some dairy in their diet or after a workout?
Dairy is a wonderful recovery drink after a sporting event. In dairy, we find carbohydrates, which are your source of energy. Also, dairy is a wonderful source of very good quality protein, which is also very good for people that exercise a lot because you are able to get in protein, which helps you to build your muscles. And also, in dairy, you are able to find electrolytes, which we tend to lose as we exercise and we sweat. So by taking in dairy, you are able to replace the electrolytes in your system. That is why dairy makes a wonderful recovery drink and a perfect drink to have after your sporting events.
So the slogan, dairy gives you go, really holds true.
Dairy gives you go.
That's great. Now, Khanyi, there's one thing that always concerns me. When I go to some offices, I see people put in coffee creamer into their coffee. Is that as good as milk, or would you not recommend coffee creamer to whiten your tea or coffee?
Coffee creamer is not milk because it is made with a plant product that does not have the nutrients that we find in dairy. Coffee creamer does not have calcium. And coffee creamer has very little protein, and we spoke about the importance of protein in the body. Rather, a person goes and looks for real milk powder. And how you see this milk powder is that we always encourage people to read the ingredients. At the back of the pack, it must say full cream milk powder, or it must say skim milk powder. Coffee creamer is not milk, and we do not recommend that it is given especially to young children because it's not providing any nutrition. For that matter, we can just say it's a bad fat that you're not supposed to have every day.
South Africans have a real coffee culture. You see coffee shops everywhere. So best to choose the cow's milk in that option, because sometimes you also see almond milk and you see oat milk. Is there a difference in the nutritional value of almond and cow's milk, or plant-based milks and cow's milk?
Yes, we call these milk alternatives, your oat milk, your almond milk. I don't even like to call them milk. I think I'd rather stick to the term that dairy alternatives or milk alternatives, because they do not give you the nutritional profile of dairy.
And that's why you say dairy is a reliable source of good nutrition.
Absolutely, it's proven, and there's so much research that backs this up. Dairy is a reliable source of nutrition. It is good for your diet, and it is good for your well-being, no matter at which life stage you are on.
Khanyi, so we lead busy lives, and often we don't have time to prepare. And you mentioned that dairy is quite a convenient product. So for breakfast, having yogurt, is there a benefit to have yogurt, that fermented food, as part of your breakfast routine?
These products, because they are fermented, they are very, very friendly to your gut, because they've got very good beneficial bacteria that will actually help your immune system, and it actually helps your gut to function better. So in that way, fermented dairy products can be used very easily. And what is absolutely amazing about them is that there is no cooking required. So whether you're living a busy life or you're living a laid-back life, there is definitely a way you can find that you can actually add yogurt or add amasi into your lifestyle.
Now, if I'm lactose intolerant, would the fermented dairy help me?
There are a lot of people that are lactose intolerant, and that happens because they do not have the sufficient enzyme that is needed to actually process the sugar in milk that we call lactose. But that is not a very big problem. We are always saying, make sure that you add a bit of dairy into your diet. So the fact that you are lactose intolerant does not mean that you must exclude dairy from your diet. For someone that is lactose intolerant, what are the signs? Somebody may say, I feel gassy, sometimes I feel a bit of pain in my stomach. There's many other signs. Now, what must you do? Because we do not want to exclude dairy in our diet. We've got 4 things that we can actually advise you to do. The first one is to say, sip it. Take your dairy, let's say your glass of milk, and you just sip it little by little. In that way, you will not react like you would normally do if you were taking a full glass of milk. A second way that you can make sure that you take dairy is to actually make sure that you spoon it, meaning that you eat the dairy that you eat with a spoon. What are we talking about? We're talking about amasi. We are talking about yogurt, because the lactose is already processed, so your body does not have to do so much in processing the sugar in milk that occurs naturally in milk. Another thing that you can do is to stir it.
Stir it, okay.
This means add your dairy to other foods. Let's say you take your amasi and you mix it with pap, or you take your milk and you have it with bread. Another way you can enjoy your dairy is to slice it. Now, what do we mean by this? We mean that you can enjoy your dairy by having cheese, because you know what? Cheese has no lactose. So you can basically take your 2 slices of cheese or your grated cheese and enjoy a sandwich. In that way, you're getting all the nutrients benefits of dairy without having to experience the symptoms that are related to lactose intolerance. And lastly, we say try it. Because, for example, if you go to the shops, you will find that there is lactose-free milk. So that might treat you way better than the other types of dairy that have lactose. And then very, very importantly, full cream milk is always better tolerated than the lower fat format milk. Rather try to have a full cream milk instead of, for example, saying low fat, having low fat milk.
Well, I'm definitely going to remember this now, because you said to me, first of all, I must stir it, I must sip it, I must spoon it, and I must slice it. And if that doesn't work, I go and buy lactose-free milk.
Yes, absolutely.
So after our discussion, it is obvious that dairy is important for everyone, regardless of your age or stage of your life. Where does the authority stand on dairy?
In South Africa, we have the food-based dietary guidelines. Actually, there's 11 of them. And the dairy guideline is one of the food-based dietary guidelines. The entire guideline says have milk, mass, or yogurt every day. This goes to show how important the consumption of dairy is for each person and at every life stage.
Thank you, Khanyi, for our time together. I've learned a lot about dairy, how nutritious it is, and why it's important to include into my diet.
Absolutely, Christine. It was a pleasure talking to you about the important ways we can add dairy into our diet. And remember, dairy is highly nutritious, it is nutrient dense, it is easy to prepare, it is convenient, and it is affordable. And anyone can enjoy dairy at any stage of their life.